Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Camera Life podcast. It is Thursday, the 18th of December, 2025, here in very hot and sunny Victoria, Australia. And this is episode 143 of the Camera Life podcast, proudly brought to you by Lucky Straps. Head to luckystraps.com if you're looking for a premium handcrafted Aussie-made leather camera strap or a belt, or perhaps you want some merch, maybe a hoodie or a tee. Show your support. Head to the site. Use code GREG for a healthy discount. That's GREG. There are no other discount codes. Just use mine. No competition there at all. But today, being a Thursday morning, we are, of course, joined. Well, obviously, the boss is here. Justin, welcome. Good morning.
Hi.
Is the forecast hot for Bendigo as well today?
It's going to be super hot. We're going to go to the lake later, I think. 37,
oh,
38.
Nice. You can take the boat out.
Let me check. It might even hit 40. Yeah, we are. It is going to hit 40 in Bendigo.
Oof. That's horrible.
5 p.m. it will hit 40.
Oh, that's gross.
So, yeah.
That's
great. It is going to be
anyway, enough about you. We are joined today by Australian landscape and wilderness photographer, Samuel Markham. G'day, Samuel. How are you, mate?
Hello. I'm good. How are you guys? Thank you for having me.
Great.
Look, thank you for joining. Thank you for
joining
agreeing to come and tell us about your craft and your story on our humble little channel. And, of course, we are joined this morning by our live chat. Justin, you want to say good day to some peeps?
Yeah, they're starting to trickle in already. Obviously, Philip Johnson is here as always. Good morning, Philip.
Hey, Philip.
Rodney Nicholson, morning. LTK, good to see you. Stuart Lyle, good morning. The one and only David Mascara, hey from the Bay. Our first international live call-in, which was
Monday
cool.
night. That was pretty cool.
And that was very cool. And Rodney Nicholson, it's already hot on the coast. I bet it is.
Yeah,
I bet it is.
So if you are in Victoria today, stay safe. Hydrate, wear a hat, slip, slop, slap.
Yeah. Yep.
Remember that? Remember the ads?
Stay out of
it. Slide and shade. There's 5 steps.
Is it 5 now?
Yeah.
Oh, what? It was only 3 when I was a kid. What's going on? What have they added?
Yeah,
slip, slop, slap.
Slap.
Slide, which is your sunnies, and then shade.
Oh. So slip on a shirt, slop on some sunscreen, slap on a hat, slide your sunnies on, seek some shade.
And seek some shade, yeah.
Well, that's just become obnoxious.
Oh, man, that's getting crazy. It's really like 10 steps.
Yeah, it's too much to remember.
A manual to read. Anyway.
Yeah.
Now,
so yeah.
Samuel. You prefer Samuel, not Sam, yes?
Either. I don't mind.
Either? Doesn't mind. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Perfect. And you're a photographer, I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I pick up a camera occasionally.
Yeah, that's always good to hear. We're gonna dive into your whole story, but one thing that caught both Justin and my attention in preparing for today's interview is that you actually have developed an app specifically for landscape photography in Australia. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, when I kind of first picked up a camera in 2011, like probably fast forward maybe 3 years or so. You start to kind of become obsessed with locations and places and things like that. And, everyone's kind of, especially in landscape photography, most people have got, places that they want to go and photograph, in Australia. And then, you start writing down your list on your phone or something, and then that list just kind of explodes. And, I started doing it with like kind of states. So like, Queensland and then New South Wales and then Victoria, and having different locations in each state. And then I thought, why don't I pin them all on you can create like an interactive Google map. It's called, it's like Google My Maps or something. And so I started doing that. And then that was a really, really good way of doing it. I still use that today. And then fast forward probably a couple more years. And then I thought to myself, well, why don't I make this accessible to other people, other landscape photographers, other people who love travel and want to see some cool places. So basically what I did over the course of about a year was I teamed up with a company called Rexby, who they're actually an Icelandic company, which is a bit strange, but anyway, teamed up with them. They basically created the application, and then I've basically just kind of put my data onto the application to create the map. So each location has obviously got a name, it's got photos, it's got a description, it's got, is it good at sunrise, sunset? Is it accessible to people? If you're in a wheelchair, or can you take your pets? Can you take the
That's
kids?
very cool.
Yeah, so it's
kids. No, never take kids on a landscape shoot.
But yeah, so then, and also obviously, like I said, tides. If you can only access the place at low tide, things like that. And yeah, it's been crazy. It took me so long to put all the information in, and it's so many people. Like I said, I'm only one person, so I don't know every location that's decent for landscape photography. So it's currently kind of being community driven. So
that's cool.
It launched with over about 500 locations, and now we're almost up to about 700. And so it's got all these little pins, and people can zoom in. They can kind of like star the locations that they find interesting, so they can have kind of their own little database of the ones that they really want to see.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And so, how long curious, because it's an ingenious way to solve a problem that many photographers have, and how long did it take, do you think, all up to from concept through to Rexby actually finishing the product, you being satisfied with it and putting it out to market? How long did that process take for you?
So Rexby's basically, they're like a designer for applications. So I'm not the only one who's got a map. There's other people around the world using Rexby as a source for the map, for a map. Yeah. But me basically putting the data in, that probably took at least a year, maybe even more. Wow. Because I basically had to transfer all my own things over to their application software. And then I had to, like, my original map just had pins. It just had a pin and a name. That's it. And that was all. But transferring it over, I wanted to have a pin. I wanted to have a name. I wanted to have photos. I wanted to have descriptions and tips and tricks and all this type of stuff. And they're an incredible support team as well. If you need anything, you can have this type of thing. You can have a face-to-face meeting on the net with them, and they help you. And like I said, it was really, really hard work to try and get it all up and running. But now that it's up and running, it's really, really fantastic.
That's very cool. And so it's not a subscription; it's a once-off lifetime payment. So you pay once, and then it's yours forever. Curious to know, from a business economic point of view, was the one-off option more attractive, do you think, for customers over a subscription? Do you think that we're being inundated with so many subscriptions that people just want to get the thing and own it? What was your thinking around that?
Yeah, I think that in a world of digital media, things like movies, CDs, video games, all those types of things, people don't own them anymore. They stream them. This is, it's still digital media, but you can just owning it straight out. You don't have to continually pay for it like something like Netflix. And look, we don't all have money that's just, you can constantly use for a subscription. So I just thought, look, it's being a one-off payment. It's a whole lot easier for people. They just have to pay for it once. There's also a feature in the application that you can invite one friend for free. So it's technically half price as well.
Yes, so 2 licenses,
yeah. So if you want to split it with a friend, the payment, then it's half price.
Well, we won't assume that we're going to split the payment, because I was just going to say Justin can buy it and I can use it.
Well, Christmas is coming up.
You probably have to fight Grant for it, Greg. I reckon.
Yeah, maybe. He's pretty keen.
This is Grant loves landscape photography and maps and stuff. This is right up his alley. I wanted to know, so is there any way to get a taste of what it's like before buying the app, or is it you've basically got to jump in head first and buy it and then get in there and have a look around and see what it's like? Or is there any kind of trial or anything like that?
Yeah, so you can go onto the actual Rexby website, And then there's hundreds of different maps from all different people. There's, influencers, there's foodies, just maps on food of maybe it's somewhere in Europe.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm not the only person who's got this type of thing. But what you can do is if you click onto mine, I think there's 10 to 15 or something free locations. So you can kind of zoom in, have a bit of a look around, click on the 10 free ones, see what you're getting into before jumping in head first.
And a really good feature I think it has that's absolutely critical for some landscape and especially wilderness photographers, and we'll get to the differentiation between those two terms in a minute, but is the ability to work offline on the app.
Yeah.
I think that's really handy because often, where you guys are heading, there's not a lot of signal sometimes. Sometimes you're above the clouds, sometimes you're deep in the thick of wilderness and there's just no signal. So it's great that you can just download it. I think that's really smart playing.
So each location obviously comes with Google Map coordinates. So what you do is in the app, you just press directions and it will just automatically open it in Google Maps and it will just send you there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right. Well, now that we've got the ad out of the way, no, I'm kidding. That wasn't an ad. We genuinely we genuinely want to find out a bit more about this app. So, can you just tell anyone that's listening that might not be familiar with your work, in 60 seconds or so, like who you are and what you're known for in the world of photography?
60 seconds, that's pretty hard. Sure, I'll try.
You've already lost 10. You've already lost 10. 15. No pressure.
For me, I think I'm quite well known for trying to document events that don't happen every so often. From things like Aurora or Milky Way placement and things like that. I blew up a little bit when it came to the 2019-2020 bushfires. I did a large series on that, and that went kind of around the world a little bit. Things like that. I like to not follow the crowd. I don't do photography for other people. I do it for myself. It's an art form. That's why I got into photography in the first place. It was fun. And I'm not going to, there's people out there who put people in their photos, kind of like influencer images of them, standing on a rock or something at a lookout. That doesn't do it for me. I don't get that.
That's most of Justin's travel shots, honestly. Whenever he travels, it's just all photos of him on a rock, looking ahead at his life. And
it's funny because I've got no photos of me traveling, because when you're the photographer, you know what it's like when you travel and you're like, I'm the photographer, so you don't ever get photo. You're like, I got no photos of
quite
me.
a few of Elena on there.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm always like, I just want to take this photo. I think it would look better with a person in it. Can you go stand on that rock? And she's like, okay. Anyway,
Samuel, I'm really keen to talk about your award-winning image with Australian Geographic sorry, I've forgotten. Is it Our Country Burns?
My Country Burns. My Country
Burns. Thank you. Sorry. And I've read a few of your interviews around that, because you've also got a piece in the Australian Museum website. You've got a piece in the Australian Geographic website, and we'll link those below later for anyone that wants to go and check them out as well, because they're definitely worth the read. Really amazing story. So you talked about your, blowing up, interesting choice of words, blowing up during the bushfire season. But you came face to face with a firestorm unexpectedly. That once you got over the initial emergency of trying to save your family home and everyone that was there with you, you were then able to capture some images. But let's just go back a little bit to that experience for you. In photography, we often come across these happenstance, lucky times, lucky incidents, but coming face to face with an unexpected, unprecedented firestorm in what has been documented as one of the worst fire seasons for Australia, like that was a horrific year, and it literally felt like the country was on fire. Tell us about that experience as a creative. At what point in that emergency did you go, oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to take some images of this now. Things are safe. But if you can just talk us through that experience a little.
Yeah. So the day was New Year's Eve, 2019, so the 31st of December. And so that was my on my parents' property at a place called Palmer, which is about 15, 20 minutes inland from Jervis Bay on the New South Wales south coast. And, you know, I'd lived there basically my entire life. We moved there to that property when I was in year 2 at school. So, yeah, mum and dad, they bought the land, they bought and they built the house. And when they were building the house, they had to, because it's a rural area, they had to build it to a certain spec for the house. So, you know, things like double brick, triple glazed windows, sprinkler systems, the clearing of, you know, the bush around the house. So they designed the house in a way that was, you know, trying to be fireproof. You know, not everything can be fireproof, but they gave it their best shot. Now, you know, growing up in a rural area on, you know, in bushland and things like that, bushfires were always kind of a part of our life. We'd have bushfires before, but nothing to the caliber of this one. So yeah, basically the fire impacted us at around 1 p.m. in the afternoon on New Year's Eve, and kind of throughout the day, the morning, midday, you could hear this humming noise. And the best way I can kind of describe it is if you're sitting on the tarmac in a plane, and you're just about to kind of take off, and the engines in the plane start to rotate, and you get that humming noise on the outside of the plane. Yep. That's kind of the best way I can kind of describe what the noise was. It was just kind of this kind of thing, and it built and built and built and got louder and louder and louder and louder throughout the day. And, you know, we didn't really know what it was. We were like, oh, what's that? You know, anyway. 1 p.m. came around, and then everything started to get dark, like really dark, to the point where it was basically nighttime. You couldn't see more than, you know, 5 meters in front of you. And then the smoke kind of rolled in. So then you really couldn't see. You couldn't see at all. And yeah, like I said, like fires had been a kind of a part of our life. And so we were well prepared. We knew that bushfire season, this was well and truly into that bushfire season. We knew that eventually it was going to hit us. So we were prepared in that aspect. So we'd had, you know, mum and dad had always taught us, you know, what to do if we were all there. We had chosen to stay and defend our house. So we had a relatively, like, an idea. We had small fire pumps around the house in stations, and then everyone kind of had their little position around the house as the fire was coming. And yeah, so obviously everything went dark, the smoke rolled in, you can't really see more than 5 meters in front of you, and then you look up and there's these little dots, and they look like stars, and then they start falling, and they're the embers, and then they hit the ground in front of you, and then you go over and I remember a few of us had like a mop and bucket, and you'd go over and you'd stamp it out, stamp out the ember so it didn't kind of take fire. You know, that was fine for the first 10, and then you look up again, and now they've duplicated to 30, and then there's 30 on the ground, and then 30 turns into 50, and 50 turns into 100, and 100 turns into 200, and then it gets to the point where you just can't stop it. It's literally raining embers around you. And, you know, we don't have full firefighting outfits on. We've just got, you know, jeans and long sleeve shirt. Some of us had eye protection. Obviously I wear glasses. And yeah, then everything around us was basically on fire. With the embers kind of around on the ground. And then the southerly wind changed. So at the time, the fire was burning from west to east towards the ocean. And then the southerly wind pushed it from south to north straight towards us. So if you walk out onto my parents' backyard veranda and you look out, there's probably about 100-meter buffer between the house and the bush, and then that's about 500 meters wide. So you can kind of look left and right, 250 meters that way, 250 meters that way. And you've got this big kind of canopy of trees staring you in the face. And at that time, we still you couldn't see flames. It was just the embers kind of creating flames in front of you. And once that southerly wind changed, I'd give it probably 5 seconds, if that. You felt the hot air just smack you in the face. So you got this big gush of hot air, and then the wind was just going like crazy. And the best way I can describe the hot air is when you're in the kitchen and you open up the oven door and you get that big waft of hot air hit your face. Same thing. So it just hit you in the face. And then 5 seconds later, the entire 500-meter stretch of bushland in front of us just went up like a tinderbox. It was just insane. Like, you see social media and the news and things of, bushfire emergency on the south coast, and it's, you see the videos of the people walking around with their little garden hose putting a fire out, which is like the height of their knee. I'd give anything for it to be like that. This thing was 50 meters high from what the trees are, and then it was spiking above the tree line another 10, 20 meters. So this thing's like 70 meters high. And like I said, we've got about 100 meters between us and the bush. When that happened, you just felt like you were melting. Like there is I can't describe how much heat was being pushed towards us, especially with the wind behind us. So basically what we did is I was kind of situated on the left-hand side of the house. I went ran round to the left with my mum, and my brother and my dad were on the right. They went to the right, and then my sister was also on the left as well. And basically I can remember running kind of around the corner of the house and then just being pulled and smacked up against the roller door, the front kind of garage door. And it was my mum. She'd grabbed me and pulled me in and pulled me up against the roller door. And I can kind of still visualize and remember kind of just seeing flames kind of licking the side of the house, knowing that you've still got a 100-meter buffer gap. That's how much that wind was kind of pushing it and arcing. So it was basically kind of arcing over the house at that point. She pulled me into the door, the garage door, and she basically was like, I can't breathe. And then I was like, what are you talking about? And then, things about fire loves oxygen. So this fire was so extreme that it was taking oxygen on like a 20-meter square, scale at a time. So it was just eating the oxygen out of the air. And when she said she can't breathe, probably about 2 breaths later, I just felt like I was choking. Like I could not. You'd breathe in and you'd go, oh, that's normal. You'd feel like the wind go past your lips and your teeth when you breathe in through your mouth. But it wasn't oxygen. It was just smoke. So it was such a strange feeling. You go like that and nothing works. You go, oh, I can't breathe. And then you do it again and you go, something's wrong. And then you do it again and then you go, okay, I'm in trouble here. Like I can't breathe at all. So what we did at that point is we then kind of ran another probably about 20 meters to our front door, which was open. And we got inside the house with, my sister was in there. Obviously my mum and me, our next door neighbours, they'd come over to our property as well. They were already around the front of the house, so they were already inside. And my brother's best friend, he was there in there as well. And I remember kind of just like sitting on the ground and looking up at my mum, and she looked at me. I'm the eldest of 3, and it's something I'll never forget. And it's so haunting. Then it's like, when I tell this story, I've told this story so many times over the years. Usually if mum's in the room, She's already in tears. But I remember her looking down at me and saying, "We've made the wrong decision."
To not leave.
And it was just so like graphic, and it kind of gives me goosebumps still thinking about it. And at that stage, my brother and my dad weren't in the house with us. So she was basically telling me and my brother's best friend, she goes, "You need to go out there and you need to find your father and your brother." Because at this stage, I'm thinking, oh, they're dead. There's no way they're surviving that. Especially if they ran right, there's no cover. It's just open, really. So I was like, okay. And I can remember turning back around and looking out the back door into the backyard and hearing these little ting, 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 ting noises. And it was the embers basically just hitting the glass. So it looked like it was raining outside, but it was just raining fire on the house. And once that had kind of calmed down a bit, because you've got to remember, like, the way a fire works is it travels obviously through an area and then everything behind it's burnt. So there's not really any danger after the fire's gone through. So we basically stayed in the house for 5-10 minutes until everything kind of calmed down and the fire had passed through and continued to burn elsewhere. And I remember going out the front door, and I said to my brother's best friend, he goes, "I'll go left, you go right," because we didn't know where they were. And I went right, ran around there, and I couldn't find anyone, couldn't see anything because there's that much smoke in the air. And then, he went left, and he found them, and they survived. I still don't know how to this day. Basically, my dad told me that he pinned himself up against this metal wall between the shed and him, and just put the hose on himself and kind of lifted up his shirt and kind of formed a bit of an air pocket in there to kind of breathe.
Oh, gosh.
And then my brother, he leant down behind one of the water tower stations that we have where you can put them on the back of a ute. So you've got like a small water tank on the back of a ute with a pump. You can drive it around and then you can get out and fight the fire. So he kind of leant down behind that thinking, well, there's water in this. If it explodes, at least it's going to cover me in water. So they survived. And then probably another 20 minutes later, we've all kind of regrouped and we're all still kind of just watering down the house because it's, there's embers still flying everywhere from the trees. All the trees are still kind of burning, but they're not on complete fire. We were all kind of back at our stations, kind of just watering down the house. And Mum comes up to me, taps me on the shoulder and says, and still to this day, I think to myself, that was not the best parenting decision I wouldn't have done that. But anyway, she taps me on the shoulder and she says, "Go and take a photo." I was like, "Oh, are you sure? Like, what else? You don't want me to help with something else?" Like, I'm not thinking about photography. I'm thinking about, saving my family, saving the neighbors, saving my brother's best friend. Our pets were inside at the time. All those things. You're not, all your belongings and things like that. I'm still in survival mode of, we got to save the house. We've got to put as much water on the house as possible. Anyway, she taps me on the shoulder and she says, "Go and take a photo." And I'm like, okay, sure, why not? So I ran inside. The camera was thankfully charged. SD card's already in it. And then I took the camera and the tripod and ran into the burning bush. And
as you do.
As you do. With just embers and things and flames still going on around me. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? Like, this is stupid. And then I remember running past these two logs which kind of pointed straight forward. And I looked at it and then kept running. And then probably about 10 meters. And then I turned around and ran back. And I was like, no, there's a shot there. Put the camera down with the tripod legs extended quite low. And that image was taken in, I think the XF data says that it was taken at about 3 p.m. So that whole ordeal with the fire lasted us about 2 hours. That was taken probably 20, 30 minutes after the fire came through. And
amazing.
So that's 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And settings wise, it's 25 seconds longs without filters, so you can kind of gauge how dark it must have been.
Yeah.
And that's what it looked like. It was orange, it was dark, it was crazy. And you've got all these embers down the bottom of the image. They're bouncing towards me, they're bouncing off my camera, my tripod, my boots. And so I took probably 5 or 6 of that exact scene. I can remember focus stacking it, which is just crazy. It's like, I've got to focus stack this.
Yeah, just take your time. Yeah, no hurry.
Yeah,
I think what's interesting here is the lengths you've gone to capture an award-winning photo. I mean, most of us, we don't go to that much effort to get to an award-winning photo, but phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
It's actually interesting too that you mentioned, like focus stacking and a 25-second exposure. And this is just me, like my background is not a landscape photographer. It's just not something I've ever been good at. I'll take pictures of nature when it looks nice, but I'm not good at it, If I was in that situation, I'd like to think if I had the composure to take an image during that, after that ordeal, I would have just been going to my safe settings, like 320th of a second, enough depth of field that I can get something in focus, and then just increase the ISO to compensate for whatever. And I would have just been taking photo. Okay, I'm done. Yeah, then running away. I think that's it speaks to your competency in your landscape photography, that you knew how you wanted to go about this image, and it would require a shutter speed of that length and stuff like that. Because like I say, I would have just defaulted to like, what's a safe photo? That.
But also doing this within moments after just surviving one of the country's worst ever bushfires. Full credit to your mum. She obviously, mums are very special. They kind of assess danger constantly. It's just wired in. And she obviously felt comfortable enough to say, hey, we need to document this. I need you to go out there and do this. Because we may not have that chance again. And I remember even, well,
I was just going to say, is there any chance that as you ran off into the burning bush to take the photo, she was thinking, I meant from the veranda, you idiot? What do you?
Probably
I meant stay here and take a photo, not over there.
It is. Look, the image, and now this went on to win the Australian Geographic. Win you the Australian Geographic prize. That was for landscape shot of the year or photographer of the year?
No,
it was nature photography, wasn't it?
That was overall winner.
Yep. So,
and that was in 2020, 2023.
I don't know about you, Justin, but I remember though that time, just before the big bushfire, I was in Wangaratta for a weekend with a mate, and he was a CFA, fiery, and on call. And I remember him having his boots and gear, everything just by the door, ready to step into. Like the fireproof overalls were already in the boots, ready to go. He just had to pull it on, zip it up, and out he went. And just how dangerous that felt being there. It was a bit smoky, but it wasn't anything like this. And then later, being back in Melbourne, the sky turned orange for a couple of weeks after these fires, or during these fires. And for city folk, that felt precarious enough. But to be having just survived this experience, I'm getting goosebumps. But having just survived this extreme experience, which must have been very harrowing and scary for everyone involved, to then go and you fell back on your skill set, you fell back on your knowledge, on your muscle memory of how to compose a shot, and you should be congratulated for that. Recently, more and more, I've been talking to photographers about the experience of photos that we take. The photo is the end product, but what did it take to get there? You talk to landscape photographers that hike a mountain for 2 days and then set up a tripod, and they wait 2 more days for the right weather, and that feels extreme. But this the experience behind this photo must be very etched very deeply in your memory, I imagine.
And then from that, I took the end image. I didn't even end up focus stacking. That's just a single image.
Interesting.
So after all that, I didn't even use it. But the thing, like, I remember taking kind of, like what Justin said, like going to safe settings, like, having kind of that, I shoot everything manual, but I did have kind of a safe setting to go to, and went click, and that kind of froze everything in the scene. And then I thought, no, I'm going to get creative here. I'm going to slow the shutter down, and I'm going to get the embers bouncing through. And because I remember looking down and seeing the embers around my boots and thinking, no, that's going to be cool, because it's going to be like, obviously, like a long exposure, and they're going to like form little lines, like little light trails. So I remember kind of doing that and going, yeah, this will be interesting. I want to know what this looks like. And I still can't, like, even speaking about this, it just does. It sounds insane. Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why are you getting creative in the middle of a bushfire? And then, once I took that, like I said, I took about 5 or 6 frames, 3 of them being a focus stack. Then I walked back through the front door, and my leather boots that I was wearing at the time completely fell apart. So all the glue in them melted completely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I walked back in with like boots on, but the bottom was just my socks.
Oh, gosh.
And I said to Mum, I don't think I can go out and take any more photos now. She was like, yeah, that's fine. So,
anyone that's watching or listening along, either live with us now or later on down the track, head to Samuel. We'll pop some links in the description later, but head to Samuel's website, have a look at the image, because seeing it through the internet doesn't do it justice. And it's phenomenal moment in time. And again, the experience and the story behind it is so compelling and powerful. It's not just you rocked up, after the fire had passed through, and you actually lived it and survived it. So I think that's pretty phenomenal. It's a bit lost for words, to be honest.
I can remember I got the phone call from winning the AusGeo award, and I was at my work at the time, and it came up unknown number, and I never ever answer calls that comes up, unknown number or just.
Nor should you. Good choice. Never. You do not.
Never ever. And I thought to myself, I don't know what it was. I just picked it up and said, "Oh, hello, this is Sam speaking," for some random reason. And then it was this bloke. I can't remember his name. He was like, "This is such and such from South Australian Museum," and he'd said to me, "Look, I'm really excited to announce that you've taken out this year's overall prize for the image 'My Country Burns.'" And I basically just wanted to cry. Like, and it wasn't like, at the end of the day, like, like a photography award's a photography award, that's great and all. But for me, it was about just showing people that photo. Like, I just wanted people to see it. I just wanted people to try and understand it. And, throughout your career, if you're entering something like AusGeo, I was like, if I was ever to take out that award, I want it to be for that image. And when that happened, like I said, I just basically, I remember breaking down in the back room at work, just thinking, like, wow, I was just so excited that so many people were going to see that photo. And I'd be able to explain it to more people, and, what we went through. So, it was just such an incredible. And then I remember ringing my mom and my dad and my now wife at the time. Well, she was my girlfriend back then. And it was just, I think all of them, they all just got emotional as well of, we all went through this horrible experience, and then to have something good from the other end of it. It was just.
Oh gosh, I'm breaking out in goose pimples everywhere.
When did you first present the image to the public in any way? So obviously this happened in 2023. Or when did this get announced? In mid 2023, was it? Or
are you talking about the AusGeo?
The AusGeo award, sorry,
So that happened in August of 23. I won 23. That. But image, I released that image probably. It was like 3 or 4 days later.
Okay, so you didn't
Yeah.
sort of hold back on it for a while, because that's what I was interested to know, whether there was any thoughts around that in terms of, like, you know, do you try and get it out there quickly in terms of it, people being interested because it's a, you know, a current thing
event,
that everyone's just been through, and they might, like, it's obviously a great time to show people that image, to be like, hey, this is just what we went through. Or I wasn't sure whether you held on to it for a while for whatever reason.
Yeah, so a lot of my current work with my photography, and even during that time, I was shooting stuff and then I was releasing it probably 6 to 8 months later. And I remember showing my mum and dad the photo on the back of the camera, and she was like, "You need to go and put that out there right now." And I was like, and I remember kind of having hesitation towards it. I was like, no, I'll get to it eventually. But yeah, looking back, it was definitely kind of the right decision to put it out there.
It was timely, wasn't it?
It's an event that's currently happening.
Yeah. I remember at the time, a friend of the show, Greg Carrick, I might have these details wrong, but he went after the fires had passed through somewhere near him, and he took some shots of burning trees and, decimated like forest, but then some new growth popping through. And I'm fairly sure he either won an award or it was on the news, his images. But again, yeah, compelling, because it's, we get a filtered version here in the city of what takes place when there's something catastrophic like that happening. You always get a filtered version of everything. But to see something so raw and to hear the story behind it, I think that's where, this piece becomes art, because there is such a big story behind it. There's such a big experience. It wasn't just that you showed up as a reporter or you were curious, so you drove into the area, even though you probably shouldn't have. Like, you were there, I think it's just phenomenal. It's a really amazing story to tell, and one that we're glad that you're here to tell, because it obviously got pretty hairy there at the moment at times. I can't imagine what that was like. I do have a gear question. We usually leave gear talk until a little later in the show, but I do have a question about this image, if you don't mind me hijacking that one, Justin.
Go for it.
What camera and lens did you use to take this award-winning shot? So it was taken on a 5D Mark IV with a 16 to 35 f4 lens. It's all right, Justin. I'm not a Canon shooter anymore.
I know. I was like, he's switched to Sony, but the most famous image, maybe, shot with Canon. I'm just saying, might be time to look into switching back.
That's a more thread.
I'm kidding. It's so you switched to Sony at that point? I think I saw somewhere maybe that you did you have a Sony kit at this time, but or you hadn't yet switched?
I think I had one Sony body at the time, and I was adapting lenses.
Right, you were in the process.
But when I walked into the room to get the camera, I just saw the camera attached to the lens and just went bang. I don't care.
Old faithful.
Yeah, exactly. You go with whatever's ready to go. Very, very interesting. And 16 to 35. What I wanted to ask a question that's not really photographic in nature, but I'm just interested, and people might be interested, especially if they're not as familiar with bushfires. Maybe if they're listening from the other side of the world somewhere, or just more of a city dweller like Greg. He's probably a bit more familiar with it though, because it's been a staple talking point in Australia. The decision to stay and defend versus stay and defend a home or a property versus to leave. And I think it gets talked about a lot in bushfire season, and usually in the way of if you are going to leave, you need to leave early and get out of there. Because if you stay until the last minute and then decide to leave, it's probably the most dangerous thing you can do, as opposed to... So your decision to stay and defend was for what reason? Was it because you guys felt like you had the plans and preparation for your property to look after it, but if you left, it would likely have not... The house would not have survived?
Look, like I said, like in the past, we'd had bushfires. We'd done the whole stay and defend thing before.
Okay.
And but this thing was just on a whole new level. It was, like I said, in the past, it was just, up to your waist, maybe your knee, it just crawled along the ground. You'd walk out there with a hose and you put it out. That's it. But this thing, just the whole atmosphere exploded. It was.
What was the term? I read the term, but I cannot for the life of me pronounce it properly.
Pyroculio-nimbus.
Yes. So that's basically like a fire cloud, isn't it? It's just moving through atmosphere.
Yeah. So it's called a pyroculio-nimbus, and what it is it's the fire gets so hot and so extreme that it creates its own weather system. So the updraft of hot air combines with the cold from above, pushing down, and basically almost creates like a mini tornado type thing. So it creates its own storm above it, and then what happens is the lightning that is formed from the storm then creates new fires ahead of it. So it's just this force. You could have put 100 fire trucks in front of that thing, and it wasn't stopping. It was just, it was just the most extreme of the extreme. I guess,
sorry.
Oh, sorry. So after that photo was taken, I was obviously I went back to the house, and then I was with my family, and then we heard this huge boom, this big explosion, and it was up to the left of our house, and there's no one next to us, so there's no properties next to us. So we were like, well, what's that? And then so what we did is we went for a walk to go and figure out what that is. There's nothing, there shouldn't be any gas bottles or anything like that up that way, because there's no one lives there. It's just bushland. So we thought, it might be a car or something that someone's left there. So we went for a walk. I put on new shoes. And
good choice.
Yeah. Went for a walk, and we came across a fire truck which had completely burnt out, was completely exploded.
Oh, wow.
And so it was just me and my siblings. So it was just me, my brother, and my sister. And I remember my brother kind of picking up my sister and kind of throwing her at me. And as he did that, he kind of came around me and kind of gave me a bit of this weird, awkward hug type thing. And he said, in my ear, he kind of whispered it to me. He was like, "Take her. I don't know what's in this." As in, he's gonna go and have a look. He's gonna go and see what's in this truck. And he doesn't want my sister to obviously see it, so take her, because I'm not sure what's in there. So he walked up and he kind of jimmied open the door, and then there was just a bunch of kind of half smoldering helmets in there, but there was obviously no bodies or anything. We were like, oh, thank goodness. And the whole thing was just exploded. We put the helmets out and we took them back to our house, and then probably about 2 months later, one of the commanders from that unit, his name was Jasper, he came knocking on our door with his fiance, and I think he was just after someone to talk to, someone to, who wanted to experience what he went through. He came and knocked on our door, and he was like, "Oh, I was in the truck that exploded about 100 meters up the road from you guys." And we sat down, had a bit of a chat to him, and we were like, "I think we've got your helmets." So we gave him back his unit's helmets.
Oh, wow.
And Justin, I've actually that video.
Is that what the video is? Okay, hang on.
Yeah, so the video is of them in the truck, which was taken about 100 meters from our front gate.
It's of that exact truck.
Of that truck before it exploded. So what happened is they got caught in the flames, waited for the fire to go past them, and then this is obviously when the fire is around them, and then they got out and then walked out probably 10 minutes later, and then after that 10 minutes the truck exploded.
Oh my god! So it didn't explode during the initial, when the initial fire came across. It was just a little bit after that. After they'd already.
Yeah, no. So they're meant to withstand a fire. So they can catch fire and things like that. They've obviously got sprinkler systems and things on them.
Yeah.
So this is a video of them going through when the fire is on their door. And then, they waited about 5-10 minutes. Then they got out, left, and then another 10 minutes later, the fire, obviously the truck had caught fire, and then it exploded about 10 minutes later.
Wow.
I'm going to play it.
Were caught on unsealed Hames Road near Nowra. Embers cascade down from a fire off to the left that they can't outrun.
Fire's on the road already.
It storms closer, the radiant heat almost unbearable.
Jasper.
Oh.
Flank it up.
Suddenly, it's like driving through hell. This
Look at
urban
that.
fire truck has no sprinkler safety system. They are beyond vulnerable. Flashover. The air so hot, everything explodes. This is life or death.
It's on both sides of the road.
The cabin could have been a coffin.
When we were in there, in the thick of it, we thought...
Hang on, let me just...
Gosh, he's
bounce
only
around
a
here
young
little
lad
bit.
too, isn't he?
Yeah, look at the... So that was what you walked past?
Yeah, so we opened up the door. Well, my brother did.
Wow.
And it was obviously still kind of smouldering and on flames and stuff.
That's... It's destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just go a little bit more forward, there's a part with the reporters kneeling next to it, and he's talking about the actual temperatures. I think it's there.
The brake lines melted and the
I'll just go
wheel
back a bit.
seized up. How intake lines melted, straw down, but it could have been so much worse. This was one of their trucks, completely destroyed. It's believed the brake lines melted and the wheels seized up. How intense were the fires? This is aluminium. It melts at 600 degrees, but the fireys say it was even hotter yesterday. That's like melted wax. This crew forced to abandon the $700,000 fire truck, throw on breathing gear and flee.
It had got to a point where it was too dangerous to remain in the vehicle.
They abandoned their $700,000 pumper, threw on breathing gear and raced to that truck.
It was right on.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
So how far, like walking distance, how far would that have been from your place?
Oh, like 100 meters, 150 meters.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So
I've got a question for you. It may not be easy to answer. I guess it's situational, but in hindsight, should you have left sooner? Would you do it differently next time?
Our family, we've had this conversation many times. It always comes up around Christmas time because New Year's Eve. Obviously everyone gets together around Christmas time and New Year's Eve, and it always comes up, the fire and the subject of it. If it was present today and it was the exact same event, like my parents still live there. We all have said to everyone that we would do it again. Reason being is we now know that that's the worst of the worst. It can't get any worse than that.
It's pretty extreme,
knowing that, we all came out the other side alive, and knowing that obviously it can't get any worse. A pyrocumulonimbus firestorm where it's flashovering an area. So a flashover is basically the atmosphere gets so hot that if the fire's on this side but the trees are on this side, the trees just explode on this side because of the atmosphere being so hot. So the short answer, I think, we would do it again, just knowing that is the worst of the worst, and that we came out the other side of it.
Yep. Wow. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, crazy. And it become part of your body of work as a photographer. That and also the aftermath that you've got images of sort of what it looked like afterwards, and then some of the regrowth and that sort of thing, which has become part of your portfolio.
So from then, probably like the month afterwards, I looked, obviously I turned to the camera again, and documented our backyard. I've always found just taking photos in my own backyard really hard. because you live there. It's not that interesting. But when an event like that happens, you kind of go, no, I've got to do something here. And yes, for me, that event, it hit me really hard. Out of everyone in our family, I went to counselling probably 30, 40 times throughout the next 2 years.
Wow.
It hit me really, really hard. Especially, if you ask my wife, I was a different person. It was very scary. Even still to this day, I've kind of, the smell of smoke, I don't like it. It's never ever going to be the same for me. It's just the little things, especially like I said, the oven door, when you open up the oven door and you get the hot air, I've got to constantly think about, okay, I'm opening up an oven door. There's going to be heat hitting me. Because if I don't, I can freak out. I lose it. It doesn't sit well with me.
What's PTSD?
Yeah.
That's
So
what it is.
I got diagnosed with that, and have been obviously going through that ever since. But now these days, I'm a whole lot better.
That's great to hear.
But
because I wanted to ask you, just given the popularity and the fame that the image attracted for you, did that hinder that recovery process for you? That coming to terms with what had happened, because you were constantly having to tell the story. Sorry, we've just made you tell it again.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. Or did that form part of your therapy to talk about the experience and focus on the positive that came out of it? Was that I took this image that my mum encouraged me to take and it got picked up and recognized. Where does that sit for you?
It's such a strange thing, the human brain and how it works. So for probably 6 months after the event happened, all I could think about obviously was the event, and all I wanted to do was be back there. Like I wanted to relive it, which is such a strange, like even now thinking about that, like why would I want to do that? But that's where my brain was. It was, and for some reason I don't understand it as an aspect of, no one died, nothing really bad happened. But for some reason, my brain just wanted to go back there. I wanted to be there every day. I wanted to go back and apparently change something, but I don't know what I would have changed. It's such a strange thing to think about it.
Trauma can do terrible things to the brain.
Yeah, it was a very very scary time. Those kind of that 6 months to a year afterwards. But for me, telling the story that helped. As someone who wanted to be back there and relive it, what you do is obviously you can't do that. So what I did is I just did so much research. I went, I learned how to say pyrocumulonimbus.
Thank you. And we thank you for your service.
I did so much research on that fire, how it happened, why it happened. I watched documentaries. And for me that helps. It's the whole event. It fascinates me. Still to this day, there's there's documentaries coming out about it and things, and I'll watch them. I've got to prepare myself. I've got to go, okay, I've got to mentally go, okay, I'm watching this is what's happening. But I find it fascinating, and it helps, and it helps to tell the story and to tell, talk about it and share it with other people.
I think it's important. I think, talking through stuff is something we don't do enough of. We never have as a society. But, I mentioned earlier I had a mate who was a fiery who lived in Wangaratta, and he was out every day in those fires, and it was constantly, I was way back here safe in South Yarra, in Victoria, in the city, and, people were complaining about the smoke in the air and the sky was orange. It's like, but my mate's up there. He's trying to save lives and property, and I remember checking in with him constantly because I was so worried because it was such an aggressive fire season. Like it was absolutely bananas. But a question for you. You talked about that compulsion to want to go back and almost relive it. Has it enticed you at all to go and photograph other fires, afterwards or before or during or other events like that? Has it kind of sparked your interest to be a bit of almost like how people do conflict photography in war zones? There's something about that, that compulsion to go back and document what's actually happening. Do you have that?
No, not so much. I think to myself, like I had the opportunity to photograph it. I've got a body of work. I'm happy with the images. They're images that, I don't think I'll ever be able to recreate ever again. Fingers crossed. But it's definitely motivated me to, photograph different weather events, not so much fires, things like obviously the Milky Way, auroras, storms, raging seas, things like that. It's definitely motivated me to experience and see more of nature when it's most extreme and kind of in your face.
That's interesting.
It makes you feel alive.
Yeah. And is that the difference between landscape and wilderness photography? We get those two terms a lot here. And sometimes it's hard to differentiate one from the other. But is that what makes wilderness photography? Is it the extremities that makes it more wilderness photography over just landscape? Or is there not really a difference?
Yeah, I think that wilderness is more, you've got your tent and your backpack and you're going hiking for, I've done things where I've been out in the wilderness for 10 plus days in like Tasmania. And for me, I think that is wilderness photography where, there is no roads, there's no other people. You're in the middle of nowhere. You've basically got your own life in your hands if you don't know what you're doing. You've got to find water, you've got to take your food, you've got to create, you've got to cook your food, you've got to do all those types of things. You've got to have the navigation skills and
shelter, all of that stuff.
The shelter and all those types of things. I think that's what wilderness photography is. And that, ever since kind of, I did some of that before the fire, but after the fire, that's definitely kind of been more on my radar, doing more wilderness stuff, but also, like I said, aligning things with weather events. If that's storms or, big oceans or things like that.
Yeah. It's interesting. Sorry, Jay, you go. I've spoken too much.
Never. No, I'm just interested in this, in the way that it's this event's transformed your work, and obviously it's transformed it in that you're looking for sort of more, not, I guess extreme is definitely a word, but also just like unique or fleeting or hard to capture weather events. Is it that sense that like I don't just want to do? Is there any thought of I don't just want to go and make a pretty landscape photo that I know I could probably do most days? I want to seek out something that's more elusive, harder to capture, harder to find. Because it's even auroras and things like that. Like is it that, or you're looking for things that are not something that you can think in your head, oh yeah, I could go and make that photo sometime in the next week. You're looking for something that's more of a, this happens once a year, this happens once every 5 years, these sort of unique situations. Is it that?
It's about, for me, it's about, not, following the crowd, not being, the sheep in the flock. I'm not sure if I touched on it before, but, I didn't do photography for people. I do it for me. I do it because I want to experience those moments. I want to photograph those things. What Greg said prior about, having the story. I love being like when people post on, Facebook, Instagram, or on their website, I love sitting down and reading about an image, what they did, how they did it, where they went, what they felt, things like that. I love a backstory. And, with those special weather events that you get, majority of the time you're going to have a story behind it, or you're going to have maybe multiple failed attempts or things like that. So, for me, I do love a story. I love the background behind it and, what went into it as a photographer.
Yeah. And I can see that in your work. I think I'm trying to find the best word to describe the beauty of your images. I think there's a restlessness in the Australian landscape that you've captured remarkably well. You know, there's serenity and there's beauty, but there's also there's stories there about how these, you know, unique rocks along the coast, how they formed. Your images kind of capture that restlessness of the planet, and I think that's quite amazing, and it creates a signature style, a unique style for you, and I think that shows through in all of your images, to be honest.
Thank you.
This one, like when you're sort of scrolling around your website, clicking through various things, you see this, and this caught my attention immediately.
Yeah.
And
really
that
interesting
story
play with the monochrome.
Yeah. What's the story behind this?
So that was taken at like 3 a.m., probably 2 hours from home. I'd been tracking the storm all afternoon into the night, and then the image is called crawlers, which there's a certain type of lightning, and the lightning when it strikes, it doesn't just necessarily go straight down; it will go down and out. So that there is just one image at like 20 seconds or something, and yeah, it just kind of spiders everywhere, kind of crawls everywhere, and yeah, I remember kind of taking that shot and then going, oh, this will be the last one. I've got to go, because that storm was out at sea, and then there was another one coming towards me behind me, thinking, well, I'm going to get trapped here in a second because I'm going to have another lightning storm on top of me. Yeah. And just kind of remembering going, okay, looking at the back of the camera going, yeah, that'll do, and then leaving, and then getting to the car, and then this is lightning everywhere.
Yeah. That's phenomenal.
And so this would have been, when was this taken? Do you know roughly? This was
2000 and I want to say 19. If you go back, it's got it in the image title. Oh. There you go, 19.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Have you done much of that style of photography recently? Storms, lightning, that kind of thing?
Not too much. I think my most recent one of storms was probably taken in 2023. Okay. A lot of my more recent work, storm wise, has been like the Aurora storms that have happened. But yeah, not so much lightning and stuff.
Yeah, some of your Aurora shots. We talked before we went live about the Horsehead Rock Aurora shot. It's just pure magic. Let's
have it. Let's have it.
Yeah, let's have a crack at that one.
This one?
Yeah.
There's three. I did 3 different versions.
It was just
dream
to get crazy. One. I just want one Aurora shot.
Yeah,
you've got 3 versions of a Horsehead Aurora shot.
But the reflection in the pond, in the rock pool, in the foreground, it just, and the way that the line leads you, it leads you to Horsehead Rock. It's just pure sorcery. Well played.
Thank you.
Talk us through it. Oh, sorry.
You go, boss.
I was just interested to find out about this particular shot. Like,
let's do that.
Yeah, tell us about just settings, that kind of stuff. And about how you went about managing to get it.
So I'm obviously I recently got married. I'm now located in Canberra, and I could see that obviously the Aurora forecast was looking quite good. This was taken maybe about a month ago now, and obviously what you do is you obviously track the forecast, and then you kind of work out, okay, it should hit at this time. There's no guarantees, and then you obviously check the weather. Where is it going to be clear skies? And I found that obviously the Sapphire Coast, Narooma, Bermagui, Mystery Bay, that area on the New South Wales South Coast was looking good. I made the trip down, booked a hotel, and scrambled around there just before sunset.
Did you hear that, Justin? You have to leave the house to get an Aurora shot.
I still don't believe that. I think I can do it.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Samuel.
Scrambled around there, and as the sun, like, I can remember looking at like my phone and seeing the settings of like the forecast for the Aurora, and it was like as the sun set, the exact minute, everything just erupted like on the application, on the app. And I'm thinking, can it just go dark? It needs to go dark. It needs to go dark. What's it doing?
hurry up. Yeah.
And then probably like 20 minutes after sunset, on the back of the camera, it's still kind of daylight, but you can see these like pink pillars already on the back of the camera. It was just, and then it just went crazy, like after, like when it fully went dark. And then kind of, scrambled around, took about 3 or 4 compositions. And I'm definitely the type of person who doesn't, so I don't like taking, like, I'll take heaps and heaps of compositions, but I don't like editing and releasing, heaps of the same event. If that makes sense. Like if you do like a sunrise and, you take like 5 or 6 different compositions, I'm not someone who's going to release all 6. Most of the time I'm just going to pick one that's my favorite and the best composition and just release that. But for this, like, it was such a special event, and it was such a, never in my wildest dreams would I have thought of getting Aurora over Horsehead Rock.
Matt Palmer just dropped a comment in the chat that said that's pretty special. Don't get auroras like that in that northerly a location often.
So I just thought to myself, I've got to do more than one. And it was hard to choose which was my favorite. So I just thought, I'll just do all of them.
Well, you can't leave images like that. It's
pretty hard to
sitting on a hard drive.
Yeah, absolutely. They deserve to be seen.
Let's talk about the app, the not your map app, the app used to track down auroras.
So you're blaming the app.
I'm blaming the app. You mentioned the forecast. What are you watching? Like when you're on a Aurora alert, like what are you keeping an eye on? Are there groups that you're part of? Is there, and there's the app that everyone recommends to use that is extremely difficult. What app do you use?
So hold on, I'll just double check on my phone. I'm running a couple of different ones. There's one that's just called Aurora. There's also another one called Aurora Alerts. And then the big one's Glendale, which it's really, really overwhelming. As soon as you open it up, there's just lots of numbers and lots of, like the current Aurora levels, and there's all types of things. There's also another one called Space Weather Live. That's another good one. But basically what I'm looking for is I've got alerts on my phone for Glendale and Space Weather Live. You can get alerts. You can turn them on for if any flares are released from the sun. So things like an X flare or an M flare, which is basically how large the kind of eruption on the sun is, and then you've got to hope that it's Earth facing. It's a very, very, very kind of complicated thing, and it's even really quite hard to explain. But yeah, obviously looking at that, and then you kind of track it, and then you can kind of gauge, if there's an X flare on the sun, it's probably going to be a couple of days, probably 2 or 3 days before it'll hit Earth's atmosphere. And then you've obviously got to figure out, where there's clear skies, if it's facing south, if you're in the southern hemisphere. And then, another thing that people do, I'm a part of them as well. There's a couple of, there's lots of kind of Facebook groups where they're run by professional people who actually fully understand what they're talking about. And they're really good as well to kind of keep track of it and get a bit more of a better idea. Because it's very, very hard.
It is fascinating though that the two disciplines of science and photography come together for these special shots. I think that's amazing and very cool. That your composition is reliant on a solar eruption.
Yeah.
However many hundreds of thousands or millions of miles away the Earth is, the sun is from the Earth. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's very, very kind of, what I find fascinating is like something like this image here, for example. You scout a location. So you go, okay, I want to take a photo here. And then you've got to go, okay, is that south facing? Okay, yes. And then you've got to work out, okay, is there going to be clouds there? And then when you get to the location, then you got to run around like a madman looking for different compositions. there's so many little things that you chip away at that's got to come together to create an image. Even
And
like
then-
something like this, like me and two friends, we hiked up that mountain, and yeah, it took us like 2.5 hours with backpacks on to get there.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the dark. Well, or in
Oh.
late evening.
Late afternoon. Yeah.
Late afternoon. And then you can sit around for hours and nothing happens. Because even if the forecasts are all kind of all happening and stuff, it is quite common that you could just sit there and see nothing for hours and then give up. And then as you're walking back down the mountain, it starts.
Yeah, so there's like 6 different things that have got to kind of align for it to
Literally,
actually
the
happen.
heavens have to align, don't they?
Yeah, and it's
Quite
like,
literally.
obviously the big one is cloud cover.
Yeah. It's a bane of all our existence, no matter what we're shooting. Very, very cool. Oh, Matt Palmer dropped another comment. Mount Amos isn't the easiest hike in the dark. No, I certainly wouldn't do it.
Probably not.
Mind you, I don't leave home in the dark, so, you know, maybe that's more about me. Anyway, I'm really keen to understand a little bit about your backstory. If we could just spend a few minutes on that. Reading through your bio, you started photography in 2011. What came before that, and what inspired you to pick up a camera?
So yeah, my father, he used to kind of walk around with a camera when I was a little kid. I kind of remember him with old film cameras. He had a Pentax. It's actually in my room. The old Pentax that he
Everyone's got their old man's Pentax somewhere.
Yeah. But yeah, that didn't, like, I wasn't really inspired by that. I never was like, oh, I want to take photos or things like that. I could kind of just have vivid memories of him taking photos when we were little kids and stuff. And yeah, what I kind of first did is probably in 2010, I would walk around and just take photos on like I think it was like an iPod, like the original iPod Touch from Apple. And it was like,
They had a camera?
Yeah, like it was like terrible. I think it was the original. It might have been number 2.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, it was terrible. I just remember kind of like taking photos. And then I did art, visual arts at school. And yeah, I was really kind of liking taking photos. And Mum and Dad, they bought a little camera kit at a Canon 600D with a...
That was my first camera.
Oh, there you go.
In digital, yep.
18 to 55 and a 55 to 250, I think, the kit. And yeah, they sat us. I remember Mum and Dad sitting us 3 kids down going, look, we got this camera, it's digital. Feel free to use it. There's nothing wrong with that. They had one rule, and the one rule was don't put the camera in manual mode. And me being the eldest of 3, I just completely, obviously, disobeyed Mum and Dad. Put the camera in manual mode, and wanted to work out, what's this thing has an f stop, and what's ISO, and what's a shutter speed, and all these types of things. And yeah, from there, I just kind of self-taught myself. I worked out that if you back then, like, tutorials on YouTube weren't really, like, there was stuff out there, but being quite young, like, I didn't even really think to do that. It was just, I was just using a camera for fun. And then I'd take a photo at like a lower f-stop, and then I'd take one at a higher f-stop and adjust the settings, and then work out, oh, okay, if it's at a lower f-stop, not much is in focus. But then if I take it at a higher f-stop, things are in focus. And then I'd work out, okay, what's ISO? Okay, so a lower ISO, oh, you get an ISO image. For the higher ISO, it starts to introduce this stuff called noise. And yeah, it was just this big journey of, I remember going home from school every day in the backyard, in the bush, just running around taking photos on this camera. I'd then, come home and show Mum and Dad, look, I took these photos. And they were probably horrible, but that's kind of what kicked it all off. And then fast forward probably 2 or 3 years, I was just obsessed with taking photos, and I would take photos of everything. Like, I'd take photos of people, of sport, of animals, obviously landscapes, architecture, whatever. It didn't matter. I just wanted to take photos. And then I remember it kind of became kind of a bad thing. Like I was just taking photos of everything and anything. And then I thought to myself, okay, what's the one kind of genre of photography I like the most? And landscapes kind of, drew me. I was kind of drawn towards that. And I thought, no, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus solely on landscapes and try and get really, really quite good at it. Then I put all my effort just into that one genre. And then, that allowed me to, previously when I went to the city, I'd be taking photos of the city, of like, if I went to Sydney Harbour Bridge and things like that. And that kind of just allowed me to, relax and not have to take photos of everything. So these days I just do landscapes. And then another little rule I have for myself is I don't photograph anything man-made. So if you go through my entire website, there's nothing on there which is man-made. It's all just natural. It has to occur naturally.
Yep.
Interesting. Challenge accept. Well, I see a couple of photos of the moon here, and if anyone is aware of the Earth being flat, you will know that the moon is in fact a man-made object that's up there.
It's just a Hollywood prop.
It's just a prop.
Big wire.
Okay, so that's a rule that you've made for yourself, and is that something that you could ever see yourself breaking, that rule? Is it just for now, or is it something that you can't see yourself ever in the future going down that direction?
Like I don't know, like something I've kind of slowly started to branch into, which isn't anything man-made. I'm really quite enjoying wildlife photography at the moment. That's kind of something, I'm quite horrible at it, but it's a fun little thing because, another thing with landscapes is, they don't run away. The trees and the mountains don't run away, but all the wildlife does, so it's a lot harder.
I'm having the same problem with macro. Can't find a bug anywhere. Plenty of flowers.
So that's another little fun thing for me at the moment. But me and my wife, we just recently, obviously we got married recently, and we went on our honeymoon. We went over to the Canadian Rockies for around 8 weeks.
Wow.
And there was Emerald Lake, I think it's called. There's this there was this hut, and it was kind of just getting on sunset, and they turned their lights on, and it was quite like magical. The light coming out of the hut was kind of an orangey color, and there was some nice color in the sky, and I just couldn't not take a photo of it, So I took a photo of it. I'm not sure if I'll ever release it, but that's kind of one of the only ones recently that I have. So
Does it count if you use AI to remove the hut? Does that count?
You idiot.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Come on.
I know. I love that. I love that. It's a rule that informs your creative process. And it's not for any it's not an ethical rule. It's nothing like that. It's just something you've decided on, and it helps narrow your focus, I think.
Yeah. So for me, it kind of lets me kind of hone in on landscapes a bit more. Like you can, when it comes to landscape photography, you can kind of break it down into, there's only a set kind of number of categories. So you've got obviously the, seascapes, mountains, trees, waterfalls, abstracts and textures. And then if you want to, you could also break it off into like storms and like astrophotography. But a lot of the time, like astrophotography is going to fit into another genre. You're going to go take photos of the Aurora or the Milky Way at the beach or above a tree or a mountain. So there's only so many kind of subcategories of landscape photography. So it's definitely, it's made me kind of being able to focus in on those kind of subcategories a whole lot easier.
No, it's a good way to do it, to have discipline about, like Justin said, what informs where you look and how you see the world. I think that's really powerful, and I think a lot of people can learn from that. Speaking of learning, let's talk about your workshops. How's that for a sloppy segue, boss?
Love it. Love it.
Cool.
It's perfect.
So Samuel, you run workshops. How long have you been offering workshops to people for?
So I kicked off my first workshop just after the announcement of AusGeo. So August, October, September, around there of 2023. And then, about halfway through 2024, I've been full-time running landscapes and being a full-time landscape photographer since then. But it was never a, when you pick up a camera in 2011 and you're a little kid, you never picked it up with the intention of running and making a living off landscape photography workshops. But now that it's happened and it's a thing, I wouldn't look back. It's an incredible job. It's incredibly different from different people's jobs around the world, but it's so much fun having your passion a job. It doesn't feel like work.
I think it's one of the greatest things that we can achieve. Sometimes I say it's a bit of an obligation, but that depends on the person. That we tell stories and we hand information down. We hand down skills so that others can flourish, so that we kind of cement the future of our craft. And I have huge respect for people that run workshops to share that. And yes, it's to help you make money. There's no doubt about that. But we live in a world that needs an economy, so no one's going to certainly hold that against you. But I think it's wonderful that you share this sort of image. Justin, you've got that page there for the workshops. Do you mind just bringing it up?
Sure.
On the screen. So you've already got a bunch of workshops that clearly are sold out. Sapphire Coast, Bateman's Bay, Jarvis Bay, Great Ocean Road, heading down our way, and New Zealand, South Winter Island. Has that happened yet? That trip?
No, that's July next year.
And then you've got only a handful of spots left on Kiama for seascapes, and another New Zealand South Island in spring.
That's obviously had such a busy period recently. Obviously getting married, we went on our honeymoon. Then me and my wife went over to India for a friend's wedding. I've had about probably 2 or 3 months off, if you want to call it off work recently. So those ones were kind of the ones that are sold out, were kind of put together just before we went on our honeymoon adventures in India around the world. Watch this space. I'll be releasing some more new ones, hopefully in the new year.
And obviously they're only small group workshops. They're like 3 to 4 participants, very intimate. I guess people get more of your time for guidance and support. It's wonderful. Sorry, Justin, you're going to ask something.
Well, I just want to know about when you decide to run your first workshop, what was that decision like? What was the first workshop you ran? And were you nervous?
So when I kind of took out the AusGeo, I released 2 kind of like about a week later, I think. I released a Jervis Bay one, which my parents' house is like 15 minutes from Jervis Bay. So, I've grew up there my whole life, know the beaches kind of like the back of my hand. So it was kind of a no-brainer. And then, Kiama, which is it's like 40 minutes up the road, which is kind of where I taught myself how to do seascape and landscape photography. I released those 2, and I was very nervous. I never thought to myself as a teacher. I never wanted to be a teacher. Never wanted to, be a high school teacher or anything like that. So it was very, very, it was quite nerve wracking, and I was never very good at like public speaking either in school, but from something I've learned over the 3 or 4 or 3 years now that it's been since then, is that with things like public speaking, in school you're talking about things like Hamlet, or it's something that's it's not interesting for me anyway. So, but once you're talking about something you love, the nerves kind of just go out the window. It's, you know, it's, you're enjoying, you know, if I'm talking about photography and I'm talking about nature and weather, and yeah, the nerves kind of just went out the window, and I haven't looked back.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful to hear. And I agree. I find that too. Even, you know, I consider myself quite introverted, and, but if it's anything to do with photography, that all just disappears.
Yeah.
As soon as I start talking about the craft, I just get that kind of, that energy takes over, that, you know, this is something I love. And so I'm going to be passionate about it. And hence why I'm here with you guys today. Doing podcasts. Who would have thought, hey?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
143 episodes.
Indeed. Let's talk gear.
Yeah. I have some questions. Why did you switch from Canon to Sony? No, I'm kidding.
It's a fair question. It's a fair question.
Okay, all right. Tell us about that. How did that decision come about?
So it was kind of the time when Canon and Nikon weren't releasing mirrorless. Like, they hadn't released anything mirrorless yet. And Sony was at its almost, I think it's like second iteration of mirrorless cameras. So I just thought, well, I'm not waiting around. I'm just going to jump in. And you could adapt lenses from a Canon onto a Sony. And yeah, didn't really look back. But I will say one thing, like, especially like running workshops and teaching people throughout the years, it's, for me, you know, it doesn't matter what it is. You know, if Justin gave me his Canon, you know, you're still going to be able to make a good photo.
Decent. I'd say good. Good's a bit of a stretch.
Like, yeah, I like to tell people, you know, just stick to one of the major brands. You know, your Sony, your Canon, your Nikon, your Panasonic, you know, it doesn't, Fujifilm, it doesn't matter. It's just stick with it. And when you're thinking about gear and you're thinking about how the world works and the economy and things, it's, you know, Nikon wants to be better than Sony, and Sony wants to be better than Canon. So they're all just trying to out-compete each other anyway. So eventually everyone's going to catch up to one another.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think, was it Dennis Smith the other night said something about, I think it was that night that I couldn't make the podcast where Dennis was co-hosting. He said something about, you know, choose your brand based on the glass. Something along those lines. It was kind of like, you know, the glass should lead your decision making around brands.
It's a pretty common one. That thought of, you know, don't just switch because a new body come out, kind of thing. Because 2 years later, your brand might be the leader and the other brand might be a little bit behind, and then next 2 years later, a different brand's the leader, and it's just like you say that, Sam, those iterative jumps where they're trying to outcompete each other, and it won't be long before your brand catches up anyway. So don't stress too much.
Yeah, it's like there's one of the brands is always going to lead the pack eventually. It's always going to
Canon
from.
Yeah. And again, that's, you know, that's in the eye of the beholder, though, isn't it? Because
that's right.
You're influenced by a whole bunch of stuff. You know, you might have inherited a Canon kit from your parents, and so you adapt the glass to a current Canon model. You know, that sort of stuff.
It seems at the moment, it seems like that time frame you were talking about when you switched was, I mean, all the cameras were still great then. Don't get me wrong; you could still grab a camera from any system then and make great photos. But it almost seems now like it's even more bunched together in terms of quality and what you can do with cameras now that everyone's caught up in the mirrorless race. And it's like you could literally grab any system right now, and they're going to be all so close to each other unless you have really specific technical needs. They're going to be so close that you wouldn't really even notice the difference.
Yeah,
it's very true. It is, and it's, you know, and the iterations we talked about a little earlier were, you know, those iterations and the improvements are getting smaller and smaller. It's like what we see with smartphones, like the jump from one iPhone 16 to 17. Yeah, they added some nice fancy stuff. The jumps really aren't that big compared to what they used to be.
Yeah.
You know, when mirrorless first came, well, when Canon and Nikon were trying to catch up with Sony, like those jumps were massive, but now they're not significant.
But it's also about like knowing what you need in a camera.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I don't, you know, even though I have been talking about, you know, recently getting into some wildlife photography, but, you know, like I don't need like pre-capture. That's not a thing I need.
No.
Or, you know, I don't need 4K video or some things like that. Like, all I really care about is how good is the sensor, and probably like the dynamic range and the like stabilization. That's kind of the things I'm looking for these days. It's and for that reason, like I'm going up in with the Sony system. I own a A7R2 and I own an A7R4, and now I'm waiting for them to release an A7R6. So I'm going up in twos for that reason.
All right, let's I'm going to ask a question so I can make a clip out of this.
Such a TikToker.
Try and get on YouTube or something, get famous. What are you wanting to see in the A7R6?
Well, currently, so my A7R4, I'm not 100% sure what the specs on stabilization are. I know that the 5 is a whole lot better. So I'd love to see even more stabilization. So it's something like the Hasselblad has just released their new camera, and I saw a video the other day. I saw a TikTok or something, as Justin calls it, of a guy doing a 3-second long exposure seascape.
Handheld.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching that too.
That's crazy. Like currently I can handhold around almost half a second with my current camera. I know that the A7R5 you can get away with about a second handheld.
3 seconds is crazy.
Yeah, 3 seconds,
especially with 100 megapixels. Like you can't hide your crimes with that much data. You know.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'd love for the whole stabilization thing to just keep getting better and better.
That's a fair call. That's a really good call.
What about sensors, megapixels, that kind of thing? What would you like to see in an A7R6 over and above what's available at the moment?
Yeah. So my A7R2 is a 42 megapixel, and the R4 is a 60 or 62 or something. Look, 40 is more than enough. I think 30 is more than enough. But look, if if Sony's going to throw a 100 megapixel sensor in it, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah. Although your computer might.
Yeah, my
storage
computer might.
Yeah. I found that because I test and review gear, and when I got one of the first GFXs to review the Fuji GFX, my computer just couldn't open the files. Like it just chugged so hard. Those files are massive. And obviously storage is, in this economy, it's a scary proposition. Going through your storage 2-3 times as fast as you used to.
Yeah, I use a website host called Backblaze. They're an American company, and it's like I think it's like $100 Australian for a year, and it's unlimited cloud storage.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I've got
that's pretty good.
20 terabytes in the cloud.
Wow.
Yeah. So
takes a long time to upload that though. Do you use that purely as a backup, or is that you're using it as actual storage?
So what I've got is I've got 4 drives. I've got one that's 10 terabytes and another one that's 10 terabytes, and they're a read and write copy of one another. So they're the same files. Then I've got they're drives 1 and 2. And then I've got drives 3 and 4. So 1 and 2 are full. And then 3 and 4 are also 10 terabytes each. And then they're my current drives. So anything that I'm shooting now goes onto them. And then they're a read and write copy of one another. And then drive 1 and drive 3 are backed up to the cloud.
To Backblaze.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. It's data sucks. You don't do much video, do you? No. Yeah, it just eats hard drives. It's killing me.
We were talking earlier about how the iterations between cameras is getting smaller, and like I don't need video, but I do often wonder whether a camera company will be brave enough one day to put out a digital mirrorless that doesn't shoot video. That'd be an interesting thing to see. I doubt it will happen because it's all just part of the sensor and the processor now. You know, it's all just baked in.
Yeah. See, I want someone to almost rival what Hasselblad does, where they make the sensor separate to the camera, so you can interchange it. So I want them to go, you know, this is the type of body I want, say for a Sony camera, and then what you can do is, you know, you can upgrade the viewfinder, you can upgrade the screen, you can upgrade the sensor, you can upgrade the battery compartment. I want them to be like kind of interchangeable camera.
Yeah.
Modular.
Because then, you know, like if you've already got a good viewfinder, why do I need to pay for another viewfinder? All I need is the new sensor.
Yeah.
I mean,
kind of upcycle.
Yeah, makes sense. It'd be cool.
It would be cool, but look, I can see why they don't want to do it. Because
why they wouldn't. Yeah.
Most definitely.
Be very interesting. I don't know. It's really interesting, all the different advancements that are happening at the moment, but also how close everything is, and how, like, even the new Sony A7 V, the 32 or 33 megapixel one or whatever it is, there's been tests coming out about the dynamic range on that, that they've managed to make it even better. So a lot of the iterations lately have been on speed. Like, can we get faster frames a second? Can we get faster sensor readout speed for electronic shutter, which also benefits video, so you don't get rolling shutter when you're panning around with videos and things like that. A lot of it's been based on that, but sacrificing dynamic range a little bit, or sacrificing high ISO performance a little bit. Not much, not enough that it matters, but too much. But like, we weren't going forward in those areas. We were taking a little bit of a back step to be able to get, 30 frames a second electronic shutter and stuff like that. But this A7 V, using the mechanical shutter, is actually an even better dynamic range, and one of the highest performing dynamic range scores for full frame cameras outside of, the really unique stuff. It was right up there. And I thought that was very interesting.
It's impressive.
Very impressive.
Have you ever considered swapping to Sony, Justin?
I did. Yeah, I looked into it when because I've switched from Canon to Nikon back to Canon. And when I switched from Nikon back to Canon was right around that mirrorless time. I'd had one mirrorless Nikon and just sort of played with it with adapters. But then I was going to make the full jump. And when you go to make the full jump, it's definitely worth looking into everything that's out there, lenses and everything included, as to which system might be the best. And I definitely looked into Sony, but ultimately went back to Canon because Canon were wonderful for us to deal with. And also I knew their system already. I liked the lenses. They had that 28 to 70 f2 lens, which was pretty crazy. Sony hadn't made their one of that yet. So yeah, that's why. Yeah, I would still consider Sony an easy front.
Yeah, they're a contender, aren't they?
If Canon disappeared tomorrow, Sony would probably be the top of my list, but I'd look into Nikon again as well and just sort of suss it out. But I think Sony would probably be leading the race unless I did something silly and got a GFX. Just quickly,
still early days.
Felicity Johnson just asked, can you please repeat the name of the cloud system Samuel uses? I use Dropbox to store my images and has a limit to storage size unless you upgrade and pay more and more.
It's too expensive.
Yeah. So it's Backblaze.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And it's very much it's probably more, so Dropbox originated as a file sharing solution, as opposed to a backup solution. It originated as a essentially a folder you can put stuff in, and then you can access that folder or folder structure anywhere. Other people can share it with you. It becomes a shared drive. And obviously you can use it to back up. That's totally fine. Whereas Backblaze, as far as I'm aware, originated as a cloud backup solution. In terms of, they're all probably similar now, in terms of the way that they all work, iCloud and all that, and Google Drive and everything, in terms of just the way that they function. But Backblaze definitely is more of like a, let's back up your entire drive in case something crazy happens, and you can or your data's safe. It's kind of, and that's why the pricing structure is obviously the way it is, where it's like it's unlimited. You know, it makes more sense for people that have a ton of data. But I don't know what its file sharing capabilities are like. Have you used it for file sharing or anything?
There is like an application, like an app on your phone and things for it, but it's not. Look, I wouldn't. It's not very good.
It's not like Dropbox.
You can't preview the files, so you just got to go off if you know the name of like the file.
That's rough. Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah.
So
I use iCloud for my stuff because I'm completely immersed in Apple for everything. And I already had some storage with them. It just made sense just to boost that with them. But interesting. And so in terms of glass, so you still obviously you had some Canon lenses. We all make mistakes. It's fine. But you've adapted. You're still using those with the Sony, or have you started using some Sony glass as well, or third party?
Yeah. No. So yeah, I have bought into the whole Sony system. So when it comes to lenses, I have my primary go-to lens is the original 16 to 35 f2.8. That's kind of, if someone welded that to my camera, I'd be happy. That's fine.
Cool.
And then from there, I've kind of expanded. So there's a number of different things like, you look for with a lens when you purchase it. For me, I'm not too harsh on, how sharp a lens is. Look, if you're whacking a lens on a 60 megapixel body, you're going to get something that's, quite usable regardless of how sharp the lens is. So my hiking kit that I take when I do like hikes in Tasmania or New Zealand, I own there's a Sony 16 to 35 f4 and it's the PZ lens. So it's actually a video lens. It's like focused by wire. And it's like 300 grams or something stupid. It's so light. And then I also have which again, the quality is not, it's not like a G Master, but it's good enough because, I don't really want to hike in the backcountry with something that's like 900 grams, which is like what the G Master is. And then I also own, so like my daily telephoto is the 100 to 400 G Master. But then, again, that's quite substantial when it comes to weight. So when I go hiking, I substitute that out for a 70 to 300 Tamron, which is, I call it like the plastic fantastic because it's just made of, I don't even, it's not, but it's, again, it's like 500 grams. So the entire kit when I'm hiking, one body, two lenses, comes out at like, I think it's like 1.2 or 1.3 kilos, and that's it. So
that's like, about the weight of a hefty MacBook.
So it's like it's when you're hiking, that's really, really good. And then the other thing that's in my kit, which I've recently purchased probably about 6 months ago, was a Lauer 10 mil. Which is just crazy. So the vertical shot that I shot Horsehead Rock on, that's that with the 10 mil, and it's like almost 180 degrees, like, but it's rectilinear, so it's still everything's straight. It's just crazy. It's
They're very good at correcting their lenses.
It's so much fun to use. So the kit is 10 mil, 16 to 35, and either a 100 to 400 or the 70 to 300, depending on what I'm doing.
And you still only take the one body with you? You don't bring a backup in case?
So if I'm traveling internationally, so if I'm going to New Zealand or went over to Canada recently, I take the A7R2 and I take the 4, and then I just put a wide and then the telephoto on the other. But if it's just in Australia, I usually just take the one body.
You don't miss the 35 to 70 or 35 to 100 mil sort of gap in there at all? Do you ever shoot in those focal lengths, or is that just not how you see the world?
So like I've never actually owned like a 24 to 70 or a 24 to 105 or anything.
Well done, you, I say. Peer pressure is horrible. Everyone says you must have one, but I don't agree.
Yeah, no, I've never owned one. So, especially if you're shooting with a high megapixel body, if you're at 35 mil, you could kind of already crop to 50. And then, and if I'm using the Tamron 70 to 300, then the 70s, it's wide enough. So
you never find yourself thinking, if only I had a 50, I'd be sweet. It doesn't bother you at all.
Look, there's probably has been a couple of times where I'm like, I wish I could just zoom in a little bit more. But again, I just crop in the little edges a little bit. But I think it's also good because it's the focal lengths I'm talking about, your 10, your 16 to 35, and the 100 to 400. They're aspects of the world that you don't see with your eye. Like most of the time with your eyes, you're seeing probably, I think it's like that 50 mil, 35 mil range.
35 to 40, yeah.
Yeah, so you're seeing with all the lenses in my kit, it's everything but that. So it makes you kind of get a little bit more creative because you have to think outside the box. You got to think, okay, well, that's what I'm looking at with like a 40 mil with my eye, but I don't have a 40 mil, so I've got to be able to capture that in a different way.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Interesting. Can I ask you about? We don't often ask this question, but what about tripods? We talked about stability, the need for stability in gear earlier. What sort of tripods are you rocking with? Because I think people would find that interesting.
Yeah, so I do own some. Show you this one here. This is a Leaf Photo Mr. Y, which is kind of like just like a little compact travel one. Yeah. I throw it in the back of my ute from time to time. And then I do have quite a beefy, a large kind of Sarui. I think it's a 2244 or something like that. It's quite old. It's been through hell and back. But probably like recently, within the last like 2 or 3 years, I've been more leaning towards just photographing handheld, other than obviously, nighttime with the Milky Way or the Aurora. I've worked out that, like I said previously, I can get away with about half a second. And then, what you can do is, the auto align features in Photoshop are, it's incredible these days. So what you can do is if you're shooting a waterfall, for example, and you take half a second, 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 if you put them together, so you put these two together, that's a second, you put those two together, that's another second, then you chuck that on, you've now got a 2.5 second exposure without needing a tripod.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm doing that these days if I need to get kind of, a longer exposure. And you can also have the best of both worlds. So what you can do is you can shoot a sunrise. If you're not moving heaps, you can shoot a sunrise, just click, 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 go through your paces, and then you go, I really wish I'd brought a filter along, which again I don't usually tend to use. What you can do is you just go, if I wanted to see what it was at 5 seconds, you just stack a bunch of images and then you get your 5 second exposure.
Interesting. So you can kind of simulate longer exposures by layering them
stacking,
in that way.
Yeah, so you just take the median, I think is the blending mode you use. The stack mode, I think it's medium or mean.
I've never done it.
No, me neither. Not like that. What's your philosophy on editing? Like you've got sort of a few philosophies on subject matter. Do you have a philosophy on editing, or is it kind of dependent on the image and what you're trying to convey as to how much editing you would do or what lines you would and wouldn't cross?
Yeah. So something I'd probably say about 5 years ago, like I was, I'm not into it personally. Like people, they replace skies and they put in stars and they remove things and all that.
Yeah.
The only thing, like I'll remove like small distractions if needed. But like for me these days, especially like with competitions, especially like OzGeo, that's probably, I don't really enter many competitions. That's the only real one I will enter in Australia. They don't allow you to remove, I think it's like minor cleaning. So, like if there's a chip packet or something on the sand, you could get rid of that, but you're not allowed to remove major elements. And for me, especially like running workshops and putting my work online and having a story behind an image and things.
Yeah,
I want people to be able to tell that it's real. You can experience that moment. You can, the Aurora did look like that. The sunset did look like that. This place is real. So yeah, I'm trying to basically replicate what I saw, obviously to the best of my ability, and then. Yeah, obviously not overdoing it. I think it should be as natural as possible. It's almost like documentation of the landscape. So I'm trying to document it as what I saw it with my own eyes.
I wonder if it's getting harder and harder. Maybe Matt can answer this in the chat, but for photography judges to understand or to identify something that is genuine versus something that's been amended with AI or in whatever way, with the rise of AI in all of the photography editing software pretty much now, is that becoming a tough nut to crack, so to speak?
I think it's very hard to, like, even just like on Instagram, the image is only this big on your phone.
Yeah.
It's like, well, anything could be AI these days, but it's so, but especially if you're entering, like, say, like a competition like OzGeo, they want the raw file, so they can tell that it's not being manipulated with AI, or you haven't removed something major in the image. So it's being able to kind of weigh up if you're entering, say, a competition, which competition are the ones which are quite they are checking your original files, and I think that's quite a good thing, because you don't want to be entering a competition and then someone wins it with an image which is completely doesn't look anything like the raw file. I don't think that's really fair.
Well, we've got some comments from Matt. He has he's taken the bait. I would say that compliance with authenticity requirements for competition falls on competition organizers and committees, not the judges themselves. But yes, it is slightly harder than it used to be, but there are still ways to address it. In fact, I'm writing a course on that very topic. Oh, very timely. Well played, Matt. Well played indeed. I didn't show the second comment. Sorry, I just read it.
Oh, that's okay.
There it is.
Interesting comment here, and I'm trying to figure out what they mean. At 7Rolly3, dude, how did they spell his name wrong on the stream? Lol. And I'm like, I don't think we did. Samuel Markham.
No, the YouTube
it looks right to me.
Right. I know
it looks right
on.
to me. I don't know,
dude, explain yourself. Dude.
Yeah, dude, what do you mean? Lol. Okay, we're almost 2 hours. What else do we want to know? There was other stuff I had written down.
What have you got written down, boss?
Well, I wanted to talk about editing, which we kind of have. I want to talk about gear. We kind of have. I want to talk about workshops. We've done that. So I think I know the answer to this, but other photography genres, does anything, so you used to shoot everything and then you honed in on landscape photography to really get great at it, which I think you have. Looks awesome. Yep. Amazing work. Nailed it. Do you ever get tempted by any other, like you've obviously been tempted by wildlife, which is very much like landscape adjacent kind of thing. It's like is there anything else that tempts you in terms of photography genres to try?
Yeah, not so much. So recently, probably February this year, I think it was, I bought myself, again, dipping my toes in the whole wildlife thing. I bought myself a Cam Traptions infrared like trigger for like trail cam photography. So so it's a bit completely different. I haven't actually really released any of the images that I've got. I've got a nice little series with a brush-tailed possum. Got about almost 6 to 10 images. And yeah, that's been, again, I haven't used it that much because I've been, got married, went overseas, went to Canada and all this stuff, but it's a very, very different type of photography. So I had an old Canon 80D sitting at my parents' house, and an older wide angle lens. for that, and I thought, well, it's not getting used. What can I do with it? So then I went down the rabbit hole of cam tractions and infrared sensors and flashes, and so yeah, I played around with that for about 6 months, just kind of in between workshops and stuff. And yeah, it's really fun, but it's so different because you're not there taking the photo; it's doing it for you. Like you set up your composition, you set up the flashes, and then you just gotta hope and pray that the animal kind of turns up. But yeah, it is different. I don't enjoy it as much because I'm not there taking the image myself. I don't own a drone for that reason, because it's kind of being disconnected from the camera. Like the camera's flying, I'm not there taking the image. Yeah, so no, not really. I'm a bit of a rugby league nerd and cricket nerd as well. So, one day I'd kind of like the experience. I know you can buy like field side tickets for rugby league to go and take photos. I think that'd be,
wow.
You can. Yeah, with like Nikon. I think Nikon do a thing when you can bring your own camera and they don't mind.
That's cool.
So cool. Yeah, I'd love to do that. Like it'd be kind of cool just for a one-off, but nah, nothing else really interests me that much. Like I don't know what I'd do with the photos of all the players, but I think it'd just be an experience.
Yeah, that'd be great, especially with no pressure. It's not like someone said, "Oh, we need you to go and photograph this game for this whatever." You're just there to enjoy it. You can take whatever photos you want, have fun, be close to the action, and then leave them on your hard drive if you want,
and get a front row seat. So
front row seat to the football, which is awesome. I think that's cool.
That is cool.
Another thing I'd love to do, which again, it's wildlife based again, is, and I don't own one, I'd love to go down with my camera in a housing, in a cage, and take photos of great white sharks.
Why would you want to do that?
Hang on. Have you seen the video where the shark gets in the cage?
So surviving a firestorm wasn't enough for you. You just want to tempt fate. Okay.
Look, I am so scared of it. Like thinking about it, I'm like, that would be terrifying. But like, I just think having I would never jump out of a plane to do skydiving or anything like that. Like I've always told, like for my Bucks party for my wedding, I said to the boys, I said, if you buy me a ticket to jump out of a plane to do parachuting or skydiving or whatever, I said, I'm not doing it. I'm not I've said that to people in the past. I said that to my parents.
Friendship over.
If you ever do like bungee jumping or anything, I'm not doing it. I'm never ever doing it.
Bungee jumping is not.
No.
I don't like the idea of that. I'd rather skydive than bungee jump.
That's just playing with the laws of physics.
For some reason, the whole shark in the cage thing, it is kind of very tempting. I wouldn't mind it, but I'd have to like talk myself into it like a lot.
Yeah, but it's compelling for you. It's calling to you to do it.
Yeah. So, but obviously, I need to get a housing and everything to do it. But I think maybe just once, just to do it.
Oh man, no. After seeing that video where the shark gets in there, I'm like, I have no interest in that whatsoever. Oh, it's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Let's do it. The Camera Life podcast.
We're all of us in the cage, and we'll live stream it. We'll live stream it.
No, that's not fair. I'm the fattest. I'll go first.
Episode 150.
Ooh, tasty boy.
Tasty boy. It's a seal with a beard. Okay, so you'd like to get in there and you've never done any water, like you've never used a housing to do sort of that, you've never been tempted by that kind of stuff? You know how people get into, because you're obviously near the coast a lot of the time, people do sort of breaking waves photos with sunsets and things like that from in the water. That doesn't tempt you at all, that style of photography?
No, it has, but again, it's just a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. I do kind of like the some people do like the over-unders where it's like
I like that
cool.
too.
I wouldn't mind doing that, but with like incorporating it into landscapes. So doing like over-under astro photography.
Oh wow, that'd be hard.
Putting like a tripod, doing like an over-under, like getting like a puddle of water near the ocean. Doing things like that. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
fun. So you've got some ideas. You got some ideas percolating up there of things you'd like to try. in the future. Is there anything else, any projects you're working on, or anything else that you sort of big trips planned for work that you want to capture?
No, not really. I came back from Canada with 40,000 images.
Oh.
Yeah. And I've gone through one folder out of like 30. So that's been
Okay.
And then, obviously we went to India. So, yeah, I haven't had time. And then now it's Christmas and New Year. So,
Yeah.
January, February is going to be definitely editing time. But, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
What can we expect to see from Canada? Was there wildlife as well, or mainly landscapes? Bit of both?
Yeah, so I took the whole kit I took over. I took the 100 to 400, and I also have a 2x teleconverter. So that gets me up to 800 mil with a 60 megapixel sensor.
Nice.
And yeah, me and the wife, her name's Sarah, and she's also into photography as well. Not so much the most extreme stuff that I do, but she just loves happy snaps and stuff. So she, before we went over, she bought herself a Fujifilm system.
Represent.
Yeah, even though I was trying to twist her arm into getting Sony because then we could share lenses.
Share lenses, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm actually very, very surprised at how good that sensor in it. It's like I think it's the XT50. It's a APS-C 45 or 42 or something. It's
40.
really good.
Yep,
it's incredible.
I've got the same in my XE5.
Yeah, and it's the same as the XT5 as well. Like that's their flagship X series sensor, isn't it? So that's the best. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
and
XT50 is a great little camera.
Yeah, we bought her a wide angle lens, and that like weighs like nothing. Yeah, it's like I kind of got a little bit jealous of how light everything was, but anyway. So we went over there for about 8 weeks. Did all the kind of the touristy spots, and then did the amount of research that goes into something like that. Obviously, it was our honeymoon, but it was also, I like to call it 60% honeymoon, 40% photography trip. And like doing all the research for the different locations and stuff, and then during the daytime we'd go out. She loves wildlife, so we went out and took some photos of some bears and moose and elk and all types of stuff. The only thing we didn't see was wolves or cougars, which we were a little bit disappointed. But we saw elk, moose, bears, black bears, brown bears, grizzlies. It was incredible. So we got lots of photos and stuff like that as well. And obviously we did all the kind of sunrise, sunset, and we went out and chased the Aurora as well. So there was lots and lots into it. But the thing for me is, especially going to a new place, I put so much. Hold on. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Just while Samuel's grabbing a prop, perfect time to remind everybody that this is the Camera Life podcast. If you're new here or you haven't done it yet, please give us a like. It certainly helps us out a huge amount. It helps other people become aware of us. But also, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing. Tickle the bell icon so you get notified of every episode in your time zone. We do a Thursday morning show every Thursday, live, 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Time. And then, of course, every Monday evening, we have our random photography show, 7:30 p.m. every Monday, Australian Eastern Time again. Samuel is actually our last interview for 2025 because next week is Christmas Day. And neither Justin or I feel like interviewing people on that day.
No.
So Samuel is our last interview for the year, but we have plenty of amazing guests lined up for already. The first quarter of 2026 is booked out, and we're looking forward to bringing those people to your eyeballs and earballs.
And if you need, obviously, if you're looking for photography interviews to listen to over this year, like during this Christmas holiday period. Over this year, we've interviewed like over 50 amazing photographers, and I bet you haven't listened to all of them. So go back and have a look through whether it's Nick Carver from just last week or, gosh, all the way back. I can't even remember who we did at the start of this year, but I bet you there's tons in there that you haven't listened to yet. So go back in and dig into the archive and find them. We might even put together a couple little guides of like, you know, landscape photography interviews and, you know, like maybe we'll street photography interviews, sort of batch them up so people can dig into whatever genre they're into. Okay, what have you got for us, Samuel?
Prior to going to Canada, I'm like a bit of a freak when it comes to like trying to organize locations and not wanting to miss out on.
Well, you did make your own map app. So, I can see how that might.
So this is the guide that I did, and it's got like.
Oh,
hang on.
That level of OCD is magic.
Are you kidding? That's for Canada.
Yeah, so this is for Canada, and it's like every page is back to front. And so how it is I've got. Oh, it's not going to let me focus.
Because it's going to blur.
Yeah.
Can I turn off the blur? This is cool.
Yeah,
You'll have to see this. This is cool.
You should be able to turn the blur off.
There we go. So take that off. So this is for Jasper. So we're in Jasper for days 31 to 35. We were there on the 13th to the 17th of October. Our accommodation was for 4 nights, and that's where we were staying. And then there's 8 photographic opportunities. So that means a photographic opportunity is a sunrise or a sunset in my eyes. So that's when you're going to get the best light. So then that there is the moon cycle for those days.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
This here is one of the locations with an image from Google, just Google Images of what to expect. It's got the name. It's got the time from our accommodation. So it's going to take us 30 minutes to get there. It's got, is there a hike required? Yes. A short walk from the car park, about 5 minutes. It's got the coordinates of where the spot is. It's then got, if we're going there for sunrise, the sun will be behind the mountain to the left. And if we're going there for sunset, it says the light will hit the mountain. And then down here, it's got the photo pills screenshot of then the arrow in the direction that you'd be facing to see this. And then the star up here means it's a location I really want to see and go and look at. And then that's just one location. And then this one here is a different location. It's got all the same stuff. But then I put a little Aurora tag up there. So if that faces north, because we're in the Northern Hemisphere for the Aurora, if the Aurora kicks off. And then this one here.
Wow, and I thought you did a lot of lists, Justin.
They're all just iterations. So this one here, I put
the Milky Way logo.
The Milky Way logo for
the that's awesome.
That's so good.
That's very cool.
It faces the Milky Way as well.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like
I'm starting to see. I make a lot of lists for other things, but I'm starting to see why I'm not a award-winning landscape photographer. And it's when I go on trips, I'm like, all right, I'll book our accommodation when we get over there, and then I guess I'll just see what we're doing each day. Just wing it. How long did it take to put that guide together for yourself?
Oh, that was probably like eight months of work. I did probably about 2 hours every night.
Oh my gosh!
Wow, that's
cool. So every place. So like we stayed at Banff. So then Banff's got a section of 8 photography opportunities, and then you go through, and I had to work out the moon. If there's a full moon, where is it facing, what direction? I had to do that with all the locations.
Wow.
So if you're coming on a Samuel Markham photography workshop, just be assured that you're in safe hands when it comes to locations.
That's great. Okay.
Yep.
You could probably sell that guide as a one-off, because obviously people can only use it in those locations on those dates, because then it's got the relevant. Wouldn't because
the moon's different,
the moon phases and stuff would be different. How would that even work? Anyway, you could basically be like, this is available for someone who's going on an 8-week trip during this time of year. around this area and just be like, it's
Well-
$5,000.
See, the thing is, I went there so every single thing in the guide, we at least went and had a look. Just pulled over with the car or whatever, and I just took a quick snap on my phone or my camera. And like in the future, I might plan to do another map.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I've done an Australian
yeah.
map. I can then do a Canadian Rockies map.
Yep.
With
That's a
all the
great idea.
background and all the, where is the light, where is the sun and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Well, you've already done half the work, so it makes sense, doesn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Just a couple of quick comments here about your OCD. Felicity Johnson. G'day, Felicity. Felicity's just won a bunch of awards too.
I know.
Well done, kiddo. Samuel, you need to patent that for BFOP. That's the Bright Festival of Photography. Have you ever heard of BFOP?
Yeah, I had a little bit.
Yeah.
I've never been, but yeah, I've heard about it.
Yeah,
That's
we
very cool.
went the last 2 years. It's been amazing, phenomenal. So we're all organised for our workshops, side trips, pubs, most important.
Yeah.
And then little word of wisdom from Matt again. I can't read this. I see Samuel and I are kindred spirits when it comes to trip planning. Yeah, you certainly seem like the OCD type, Matt. Love you
Yeah,
for
I can
it.
imagine he would have similar sort of setups with folders or spreadsheets or some such thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Impressive.
That's
Very
impressive. That is very impressive. I can I can see how you find yourself in lucky situations for auroras and compositions and things like that if you put that much planning into locations and trips and everything like that. It's not
For
luck.
sure.
Cool. Should we call it? Is there anything else, Greg?
I think that's probably a natural place to park this episode. We've talked about what you've got coming up. Justin, do you want to ask the zombie question?
Well, I already know it now. He said he'd basically
guess so.
weld a 16 to 35 onto his Sony, I'm guessing A7R4, and could probably do most things. So yeah, I thought that, but I had it written down. And I just crossed it out, and I was like, well, he said he would weld his lens onto his body. So unless I'm putting words in your mouth, so you actually did mention multiple times Hasselblad. If you just had unlimited money, a blank check, would you grab a Hasselblad, one of those? What's it? The X2D2? Is that what it is?
I think that's the new one. Yeah.
The new one,
Yeah.
Is that tempting you, that system?
Well, I don't have.
That
much money.
So sorry, tempting you in the sense that like if there were a normal price that people could afford, do you like the idea of that system?
Look, if I had a blank check, I'd probably either go that or I'd probably go a Fuji GFX.
Nice.
But in saying that, all their lenses and everything and the whole body setup and everything is quite heavy.
Yeah.
So I might just redesign my whole Sony kit, pick the new 16 to 35 Mark II, and then look at weight to hiking ratio. To be honest.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, because that's the thing. You go up to these bigger, larger format or medium format systems, and like you say, everything gets bigger. So it does affect your entire kit weight, and then maybe
especially
you end
if you're
with this
hiking overnight, or you've got tent, you've got food, you've got clothing, you've got everything else. So Well, look, I think that is a good space to park it. Samuel, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been, I have to say, it's been quite inspiring hearing your story, especially the story around your award-winning image, for which you should be celebrated and congratulated. It is not just the image, as we mentioned earlier, that yes, it's compelling, yes, it's beautiful, but it's the story and the experience and what you went through with your family and the fears and the worries and the potential loss that you all faced. It's pretty remarkable that you still managed to grab a camera, make an image, and turn that whole experience into something that wasn't quite so dark, that there is actually a silver lining there. For that you should be congratulated. But thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. We'll drop Samuel's links to his socials and his website in the comments below. Strongly recommend everyone go and have a look. That way you can actually see these images in better resolution than watching it through YouTube, because it all gets compressed and mucked up.
Yeah, and on Samuel's website, samuelmarkham.photography, you'll find the link and information about the map to the landscape photography map of Australia, and how to access that and download it if it's something that you're interested in. I would definitely check it out if you're into landscape photography and, like me, don't want to do the work to figure out where to go. Yeah. Just want it to happen. Yeah. Cool. Anything else people should know, Samuel, before we go?
No, not really. Just thank you guys so much, Justin and Greg. I've had really, really fun time. Been looking forward to this, obviously. Over the last, when you guys reached out, but thank you so much, and Merry Christmas to you both, and all the best for the new year.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Very cool. Well, we'll play the music and we'll say goodbye to some folks in the chat. You've all been a bit quiet today. Matt Palmer's had a voice.
They have been quiet. I guess everyone's working and it's busy time of the year. Speaking of which, Rodney Nicholson says, Merry Christmas all. Thanks, Jay and G for a great year of pod. Samuel, enjoyed your interview. Philip Johnson said, thanks again, gents.
Thanks,
Matt Palmer says, have a great Christmas, fellas. Look forward to seeing you all in the new year.
Indeed.
And I think that's about it. I mean, thanks to everyone else that was here, except for seven Rolly 3. I don't know. I still don't understand.
Yeah, dude, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Robert Varner, good to see you. Gave us the old thumbs up. A lot of Paul Henderson, Paul, Lisa Leach, everybody. Good to see you all. David Mascaro, Stuart Lyle. See you all in the next one.
Yeah. Be safe, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.